Hey everyone, welcome to today's video where we're going to continue to talk about NIO stock. Sadly, today is a day where the stock is down 10% and I'm not happy to say this and I shouldn't say this, but it's one of those occasions where I genuinely feel that I have been trying to warn the most bullish of the bulls that there's some kind of risk of another capital raise, and we got it now in the morning. This is the main reason why the stock is down almost 10%. You can see that they announced it on their webpage in the morning. They're offering around 181 million, 182 million Class A ordinary shares to the tune of around 1 billion or so US dollar. How much is 1 billion if you're new to NIO stock, where the company recently managed to climb a little bit, now sitting around 12 billion. It's almost 10% of the market capitalization. In all honesty, we shouldn't take this as a doomsday news for NIO. I personally was waiting for this. I think it was quite realistic. That was supposed to be the outcome. We can see if you're new to NIO stock, over the past 10 or so quarters, they have lost a lot of money. And the reason for this huge losses, if we zoom in a little bit on line 30 on the net income, you can see that, they've been losing anywhere between, in a good quarter, around 600 million, in a bad quarter, getting very close to a billion net loss every single quarter, right? And that's been happening over the past, 3 years at least. And there was a time where NIO had, I think, a cash position already at around 8 billion, 8.5 billion. This was in Q1 of 2022, you can see here. And back then everything looked great because people were arguing that they have so much cash and they're getting almost, to the break even. You can see back then when they had 8 billion in the bank, they used to make a net loss of around 200, 300, 100 million. But something happened. Obviously, one of the reasons is if you zoom out on the lithium carbonate price, which is one of the main ingredients in the batteries, the price peaked. But this is not only because of that. I mean, it affected every single electric vehicle company for sure, even the likes of Tesla, but it affected NIO even more due to the fact that the management sadly has been really, really bad at controlling their cost. I understand that some of you are always saying R&D is well spent, every R&D is well spent, but I disagree. I think there's a sane amount of investment going into R&D, and there's a time where it's just excessive waste of money. And I know that, for example, the NIO phone, some of you, for example, in the recent video said that the NIO phone was not waste of money. In my opinion, it is. Even if it's at the bare minimum, they don't make a single cent of loss, they still spend R&D time and resources into a project, a vanity project that sold 50,000 phones. And if you're wondering if 50,000 phones enough, well, I tell you that in 2021, LG, remember LG just 3 or 4 years ago, they used to make 20 million phones every year. And even at that scale, LG, that has made phones for decades, they decided, you know what, we're so far behind the likes of Apple, Samsung and the Chinese manufacturers, so let's throw in the towel, right? And then you have this car company losing money left, right and center, decided to make a phone. And this is one example. Another example is just the sheer number of cars that they have had over the past 3 or 4 years. Remember, NIO currently is still doing 12 cars, maybe 15 models if you add Onvo and Firefly, somewhere between 12 to 15 models at any given time. And again, even if the volume is going up right now, and I'm trying to tell you that everything is not bad. This is not the doomsday. I just say that we had it coming, but if you look at the monthly delivery, for example, in August, in the white for 2025, you can see that there's huge uptake compared to 2024 and 2023. So there's tangible improvement. Again, I'm trying to be realistic, optimistic, and maybe pessimistic at the same time. I'm trying to give you the picture as I see it, right? I tell you, fundamentals are improving in many ways. Onvo delivery is absolutely great. Again, August delivery now looks really, really good. Hopefully we will have an even better September, and September will be, by far the best month ever in NIO's history. In fact, we got a really, really strong start to the September. Look at the weekly insurance numbers for first 7 days of September, and you can see that NIO group totally have around 6,270 insurance registration numbers in China only. And this is a really strong start to a month for NIO. So I really say that they are moving in the right direction in many, many occasions. But going back to what they're doing wrong and why they had it coming in terms of another capital raise, and why I, at least over the past 18 months and especially past 12 months, have been saying that, I see that NIO is turning, the momentum. I'm not one of those that are arguing that this company is going to be bankrupted, not at all. But I try to tell you that there is a high risk of a dilution because they're burning too much money and they don't have enough money in cash and assets. So I could definitely see this coming, and I was trying to tell you that maybe it's better to not buy the stock currently at the past 2 or 3 or maybe even 6 months. Wait to this highly likely another dilution, and then maybe finally they have enough money to survive and finally push towards a break even and profitability. Because the history of NIO in 2025 has been that they are trying to become profitable by end of the year. They are talking about break even by end of the year. I do believe it's possible if you at least look at non-GAAP net income. I think like if you exclude, let's say, stuff like stock-based compensation and some of those kind of similar stuff, I would say that NIO is gonna at the very least become very, very close to profitable, or at least in the break even. So again, I'm trying to give you both sides. This is essentially a fight between the management's historical inability in managing cost control, and they are finally, they started finally to do it for sure. We've seen left, right and center that they are like cutting costs everywhere they possibly can, so I applaud them for that. But we have also be honest with ourselves. How could they possibly let it go this far? How could they? Again, there's a lot of people out there. It's not only me. There's many, many people out there that have been saying this thing, control your R&D and SG&A. Why did NIO have 2 to 3 times the budget of SG&A or R&D compared to Tesla, XPeng, and all the others? If you compare the amount of money that they spend per single car sold, for example, if you compare the R&D budget divided by number of cars and compare that to Tesla or XPeng or any other competitor, they have been a multiple of 2, 3 or 4x depending on who you compare to. I understand that part of the reason why they need to invest in R&D is because of the battery swap infrastructure. Sure, I understand that, but not to the tune of multiple X compared to the rivals. At the end of the day, it's just you buy a couple of battery packs, you add some R&D into it, and then you add your swap infrastructure. But you don't need to do it to the tune of 2 times or 3 times of what Tesla is doing per car sold, right? So I think that there are super amount of inefficiencies in this company, and the stock owners, shareholders have been paying price for this, and we are still doing it. I remember, if you zoom out on NIO stock price and look at the past 5 years, I believe there was a really, really important moment. Maybe it was in you can see here middle of 2023, late July of 2023, the stock had a couple of days where it was around almost $15. But I think this was when everyone started to become positive. Finally, after 3 years of a downtrend, we started to see some momentum, and just as they diluted the shares by a huge amount, and we went another 2 years of just shareholder destruction. And this time though, I genuinely believe that NIO is moving in the right direction. I'm not arguing that they are gonna get bankrupted. Please don't twist my words. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the management, let's be honest, this is not one of the best managements out there. I'm telling you that there's tons of other managements that could easily have done better job than this current management. If you let it go this far, if you have so much going for you and you are still letting it go this far before you actually start cutting costs, there's something wrong in the upper management, and they are starting to learn from their mistakes. But in all honesty, it's quite a lot too late. So there is absolutely no way. Even the most bull of the bulls have to acknowledge that the management has messed this up. It doesn't mean that everything is dark and gray. I still believe in NIO as a company. I still think they make, in my opinion, the best balance between the quality, the sheer design of the cars. Every time I see a NIO ET5 or ES8 or whatever it is out on the streets, I always just turn my head. I'm wow, that's a car I want. So there is absolutely no way that I'm coming from a negative point of view. But I think financially, this is one of the worst management teams I have ever seen. Some of the bulls are always saying, yeah, but Tesla also made a ton of net losses quarter in, quarter out. Sure, but at least there was like a understanding. And remember, Tesla was the first electric vehicle manufacturer on that scale out there, so there was not as much competition. So you would by nature be more forgiving because there's less competition. Even if you do, let's say, some mistakes, you are still at the end of the day the only viable solution. Like in 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and even 2020, like remember Jaguar I-Pace, the Tesla killer, like, and then it was like, you know, the Mercedes GLC, the old version, or whatever EQC. So yeah, so there's been a lot of Tesla killers back in, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But now with NIO, I mean, if you do one mistake, there's like 10, 15, 20 different car manufacturers, both legacy auto manufacturers like BMW, Mercedes, Volvo, and as well like the Chinese like Xiaomi, Li Auto, and Xpeng, and whatever it is now. So again, this was just an update on today's reaction. At the end of the day, I think the worst is behind us. I was waiting for this dilution. I was not 100% sure, no one is obviously, but I was very, very like close to that in terms of like, yeah, they would need to raise cash. Now they have done it. Hopefully this was the last time. But again, knowing this management, because they raised this capital now again, another 1 billion, so they should be safe at least for the foreseeable, you know, 3 to 6 quarters. But for the love of God, don't, you know, start invest money in like unnecessary stuff. Try to continue with the same amount of models. Don't go now from like 12, 15 models to like 18 to 20 models. That's a big red flag. You cannot continue to cut down on the R&D expenses and at the same time like have 20 different models when your competitors have like 5 to 10. So I think that's a big red flag if that case, you know, if that happens, and we should follow that very closely. But also all the other unnecessary costs. Like I don't want to see another take on NIO phone. No, don't do any NIO phone. There is no need for NIO phone. Like, you know, try to invest that money in what gives you and your shareholders something back. NIO phone, I mean, are you going to compete against Vivo, Xiaomi, I don't know, iPhone, Samsung, whatever it is, like there is absolutely no chance currently. Maybe in 5 or 10 years, if NIO, you know, becomes a solid manufacturer of cars, they do like what, as you can see on my modeling, like well above like 200, 300, 400,000 cars every single quarter. Maybe then, with, you know, become profitable, make at least $1 billion or so net income every single quarter. Maybe then you can take some of that money and reinvest in, you know, some more fancy projects. But right now, if you're bleeding money and time again, you dilute your shareholders, you know, you exhaust your people that believed in you for like 5 years. I mean, how much longer do you want? Like, do you want me to stay here another 5 years? That's a decade. That's like what, 20% of any people's lifetime. Come on, guys, we're here to make money, not like support a management team that does not value the shareholder that believed in them at the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm trying to, like, you know, let's put some pressure on this management. Let's not take them, let's not allow them to take you for granted. There needs to be some consequences to their inability to do this like time and time again. But again, I still believe in the company, but this is just the reality as I see it. So please like and comment in the comment section. What is your view on today's dilution? And do you believe this was the last one, as I do, at least for the up and coming, let's say, year and a half? And yeah, thanks for your time and see you in the next one.